Yep. Joining us now on the Bruin Insider Show, UCLA women's head basketball coach Cori close with Nick Cope. I'm Brian Fenley, and we're talking about this team and this season and how well it has gone on. Let's get right to it, Coach. What a successful week you had last week. How about all the fun you had then?
Well, it was sort of the coolest compilation of three things. One is competitive excellence, obviously having a historic win versus UConn and obviously against Niagara, which is a tough matchup for us. But, you know, we got to serve the community and do a clinic for at-risk youth in the Cayman Islands. On top of that, we got to go jet skiing and, you know, snorkeling and all these other things. And you're talking about that's the holistic approach that we want to have. And a lot of coaches would say, oh, well, that's going to take away. But hopefully we can prove that, those things don't take away from our competitive greatness. It actually fuels it. And so it was just a great weekend all the way around.
It's been a great start to the season. You mentioned the win against UConn, 6-0. You've had, you know, some games where you're able to get a lot of players in, some tight games, a little bit of everything here so far. What's just kind of your general impressions of what you've seen so far this year?
Well, the future is really bright because I was just telling our team after practice, I counted about 15 possessions that we left on the table. Maybe a mental error, losing track of the scouting report, a careless turnover. And, you know, when you're able to beat UConn, for instance, you know, and leave 15 possessions on the table, it tells you what you can grow into. If they're willing to keep a growth mindset, if they're not trying to believe rankings next to their name, if they're willing to put in the work every week to say, hey, I'm going to get 2 possessions better. I do think we're right in the thick of exactly where we need to be. You know, I think the game against Princeton was so pivotal because I think it really exposed some things that we'd been talking about, but now they're willing to say, oh my gosh, that really is the case. And, you know, and then they go on to get 2 top 25 wins, and now they're in the top 25. So, you know, I think we're in a really good spot, but we got a lot of growing to do. We're not even close to where we need to be to compete for championships.
You say you're in a really good spot. What about this team is ahead of schedule right now?
Well, you know, quite frankly, I wasn't sure how quickly Lauren Betts would be able to earn her confidence back. And, you know, when I took her to the airport after a visit one time, and I said, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your confidence? She said a 3, you know, so I was not sure how long it would take for us to learn how to pass it to her to learn her confidence back. And I think she's a big part of why I think we have really gotten ahead of schedule. You know, I think little things, I mean, Charisma Osborne, her leadership has been so steady, and she's been great. And I think the other part of the three-headed snake a little bit is Kiki Rice. And this year, her ability to shoot the 3, her confidence is just at a different level. And so really, I think those are the 3 that I think push us forward.
You bring a lot back from last year, but Lauren is kind of the one that you bring in that really makes an impact, a 6'7" center, of course. But in terms of, you know, on the floor, how she's able to change things for you guys this year.
Well, I mean, everybody's sending 3 people to her every possession. And, you know, I knew she was good, but, I mean, she's just been so efficient. And, you know, I mean, she's just had triple teams every single weekend. And I think that's a hard piece because, in essence, she's really a freshman. And so you come in and you have some great success, and now you're triple teamed every single time you touch the ball. And that's going to really push her to a new level. And so that's going to be really important. But I would also add a really important piece that we didn't have last year that's not new, but, you know, we didn't have her for a whole year is Angela Duglich. And I just think she's a matchup nightmare. So we're able to switch with her defensively. She's able to go into the post, attack off the bounce. She might be our most versatile scorer. And so, you know, just having her in the mix in conjunction with someone like Lauren Betts at 6'7", that's a pretty tough matchup on the front line.
Cori Close joining us on the Bruin Insider Show. For Nick Cope, I'm Brian Fenley, coming off such a fun week with that win, that marquee win against UConn that you had, and you're getting closer to conference play, obviously a few more weeks until we get there. In the finite amount of games left in non-conference, besides the obvious win, what are you looking to see out of your team before Pac-12 play starts?
Consistency of focus, increase awareness, you know, when we're switching the screen, who are we switching out on? What does this scouting report tell us we need to do? We're still having too many mental lapses in that way. Got to bring our turnover levels down, and we've got to be a better defensive rebounding team. Those are really, I would add ball screen defense to that. But besides that, we're perfect. You know, but I think the reality is, you know, I think really I want us to have a one game, one day approach and say it is urgent that we get better today, that we get a possession better on our ball screen defense, we get a possession better on our defensive rebounding and our passing. Those are our 3 emphasis this week. And really, I'm not looking past that too much, but I'm going to contradict myself. And our first conference game is against USC, December 30th. I think we should sell out, Paulie. I think it should be our first sellout. We're both top 10. Right now, we're both undefeated. As we both continue to get better, they've done a great job. Juju Watkins, #1 player in her class. Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice, 1 and 2 in their class. Like, it has, if you like basketball at all, I don't care. You need to pack this place. And so that's going to be kicking off our conference season, and we got to make sure that we kick it off the right way in Paulie Pavilion.
Yeah, right during the holiday season, in between Christmas and New Year's. So, you've probably been inside hanging out with family, so come on out to Paulie Pavilion.
Let's do this.
You talk about that consistency, though, and I think one thing that would work towards your favor, the amount of depth you have on this team, and how have you seen that create competition, in practice, and how that's really helped push you guys along?
Well, I think just competition is what you need, and there's no greater, as Coach Wooden taught us all, motivator than that bench, right? And so when I can say, hey, these are the things, you made that middle area, you got to sit down. And I want it to get better quicker because I'm using it too much because, it becomes like a revolving door, and I think it disrupts rhythm sometimes. But at the same time, I'm like, there are just some baseline expectations of if you want to be on the floor, these are some things you just have to do. And if you don't do that, there's someone waiting to come in right behind you. And we haven't had that in the recent years. And so it's really nice to be able to have that kind of really healthy competition. And, I don't want us to ever have a scarcity mentality because I think it disrupts chemistry in terms of like, if someone else is doing well, then that's less for me. I want them to have an abundance mentality. Am I doing everything I can to make myself better and to make someone else better at the same time? And but I just think, these kids are high achieving, young women that want to be great at their craft and they want to be an elite teammate at the same time. And that's going to be the biggest challenge. Can you have that competitive mindset that I just want more, I'm never satisfied, and I'm so happy for the person on my right and on my left? And that's not an easy, healthy tension to live in, but great teams find a way to do that.
What do you think it's going to take to find that way, to find that synergy between those two things?
Well, I think it's really sacrificial choices, I think having a great role model in that. Cameron Brown is an example of that all the time. So she comes in and is like, okay, what does the team need from me today? How do I need to serve today? And I think when you have leaders like that battle so much and show you the way, it creates accountability. I put tons of pressure on charisma on that. You're the big time draft pick, you're the 5th-year senior, that if you set the tone in that way and let me push you the hardest, I think your best players and the ones that get the most attention have to be your hardest workers and have to be your best teammates. And if those people do it, then everybody else falls into line. I heard a great story the other day, I can't remember where I heard it, but how Kobe Bryant totally changed the USA team when he played on it for the first time. And it started out, he was the only one at 5 a.m. that he was getting up and lifting before practices, and all of a sudden, LeBron was there. All of a sudden, Carmelo Anthony was there. All of a sudden, and by the end of the USA training camp, everybody was getting up with him every single day. And that's the kind of leadership that I think it takes to find that healthy tension.
I like that you brought up charisma because I wanted to touch on her. Just became 4th place on the all-time scoring list. Going to have a really good shot to probably finish in 2nd when it's all said and done. But I know you guys have a very unique relationship. You guys have been together for a long time. What's it been like coaching her and seeing her grow, and you guys develop that relationship?
Well, and I think that's why it means so much to me is that we've really worked at our relationship. And it has been, especially in the first couple of years, up and down. And we've really worked at it, and I think there's really a mutual respect there and love for each other. And I want to be her biggest fan, and I want to be her toughest critic because I just love her that much. And I think she's really embracing that now, and we're in a really fun spot. And I really didn't predict that she would come back for another year, but it's been an absolute joy to have her. And you never know with some of those situations, and it's worked out even better than I could have imagined. And I love the other day, she passed Michaela Onion wedding.
Yes.
And Michaela recorded a video for her, and we posted it on social media. But I just think that's the legacy I want to leave is here Michaela Onion gets passed up by her friend and someone she's mentored, and she's sending her like, I'm so proud of you, like, way to go, keep it up. I'm just so proud of the way the team is growing. We're following every step of the way. And when you have your alums so connected and for you, it sets the tone for everything else.
It goes without saying, Cori, as we wrap up this conversation, we're so proud of you. And and this team. We look forward to having you on more and more
Thank you.
as this season goes on. You brought up Kobe Bryant. I'll never forget the time he came to your game against UConn. I remember him coming and supporting, and how proud he would be of what this program, thanks to you and your players, that they've been able to do. For Nick Cope, I'm Brian Fenley on the Bruin Insider Show. Cori Close, UCLA Women's Head Basketball Coach, thank you so much for doing this.
You bet. Thank you. Go Bruins.